distribution and principal in the translation part. And that's it. I want to show you then a little demo. I know it's a simple software, it's download media from internet, but I will focus on all the process. This is the how I find the project. This is the upstream, and I'm forking using the CURL and JQ. You can use the GitHub CLI too. I start see the history of the project. You can see the upstream project was created on March 1, 2014. I start this fork in July 18, 2020, and then start do some metrics, basic metric, but then pay you a lot. You will learn in the long term why the project get that stage, because the last commit from the upstream project was in 2018, October 2018. Right there, tell you how is the state of the project. You can see all this information in the GitHub website. Then you some other requests, like a query, when the upstream repository was released. So like artifacts, like how they bring the software to the final user. You can see it was in 2018, July 19, 2018. It was the last published release. Then I can see in the way of the other how the people get involved, like the healthy project. Like one metric for me, I like is the merge, because then you can see how they get involved with the pull request, how much get it merged. This was in October 14, 2018. This is how I get this graphic here. Of course, I get all that information and create this graphic in Python using Jupyter Notebook. And here I just plot the events, like the commit, the releases, the same information I showed you before, when you see how in 4 years, mostly the project get frozen. There's no any more development. Then after 2 years, and then I fork it, and then I start my history with this project. I can in this part we're talking like that. Was user involved in Python? See how start the part about development desktop application. You can see many framework like Qt, WX, Python. Then start doing contribution, not just to the free open source software. I do contribution to WX Python in the documentation part, but in the same way, then you get involved knowing how they build the UI interface. And because this project was built on top of that, you take care about that project too, because that is the base from your project now. Right now, the state of this project has more than 1,000 stars. I know a star is not like a good metric, but sometimes, like in the maintainer mindset, it's exciting when the people at least get involved through a star or using issues, release issue in the project, because then you really get it. I hold that responsibility now in that project, in the community. On top of that, the upstream add many forks. You can check the GitHub issue, the pull request, the upstream, and you will see to get the feedback for the same community, because I don't know, I never meet the actual developer. I see, for example, this project use the CLI yt-dlg, and the first one of the principal maintainer do contribution to GLT. Then in this whole process, my like my happiness is I get this project, fix it, and then throw to the Microsoft Store and Ubuntu Store, to Python packages system, and the other build system like open source build system for Unix distribution in general. You can see here on top of that, I start moving the project to the actual organization when GitHub allowed to do that, because I just wanna get out of that fork and start showing how the people can make the contribution, and not just my word. I know on top of that, I'm in the shoulder of people already working on years ago. Has 30, more than 30 contribution, because right to up to date we use Copilot, too many uh, uh, tools like for sure, like a GitHub bots is other kind of contribution in the project. But at least this is actual 30 people. I think this is the metric that's actual people. 30 people at least write one line in the project. Here, this other graphic, like then you get someone. In the end, it's pressure, but it's pressure. It's fun. This pressure, because you see where your project get the asset get download, and in 1 year jump crazy. Imagine when I was here in the first iteration of the project. Okay, 10,000 in Windows. And then in Linux, you see that people don't use too much Linux for this project. But then, in like up to date in this version here, it's crazy to me, like a 40,000 download. Of course, here is have the same repository of the Unix distribution, all the upstream project. But I always try get through the release GitHub, because I know people go straight forward and download the assets of the project there. I have other communities. Okay, we can talk later about that. How I get feedback from the community, helping the contribution to the fork, because you can see through all the project what always, and then people talk about my fork, but I want to change that mindset, like talk about ourselves, like how the community keep this project, what I focus then and create the organization and GitHub and get setting all that, because it's tomorrow I know there, I know the community itself take care of the project. And one of my path was like that. This fork upstream you can see today is writing Python 2. When I started in 2020, was Python 3.6, but I know then Python pushing, changing, like dropping Python 2, the packaging system has changed a lot, keep changing with the definitions of how you package the software. Here we can talk in the migration is all there slide. We can talk more about that. One of the part of the migration, I use type annotation help a lot, because at least create the base to clean the project and up to date up to the state of Python 3, for example. Then this project before use for testing use nodes, and then I decide keep using unit test, the actual model of Python for testing, but then like PyTest they use before nodes, and I integrate tags to then help me in the continued integration in the end in the cloud. This is what I talked about then WX Python for. I get involved there. I check pull requests. I make contribution to this project because yt-dlg relies in this framework for the user interface. Here I was update. This is the documentation of the project because it's where I work. I changing already. This is have the like the main role, like a parallel, like in the organization is the same the upstream fork now of this project. And in the same way, I don't wanna repeat the same mistake. I just try doing the wiki and implement the workflow for tomorrow when if you wanna get involved, at least have the track of how you can start when I left, and gets the job done. What helped to me, well, I tell you, anytime I open the project and see the GitHub folder or Azure folder, again, here you see this folder, GitHub or Azure, it makes me happy because I know at least it's the base is there. Again, you can implement your workflow, but this is again, it's not about you, it's about the community, how work together. And some stuff keep happening. Then I get involved with GitHub Action. I start creating my own action to help me in the release process. For example, use PyInstaller and many Linux. When you get it, you check that, you will see how you can distribute in general the same binary to different Linux versions. Um, is other topic there, and I already use GitHub Action for the testing cycle, and Azure Pipeline for the window artifact. My point, my goal, just keep my project in GitHub because in GitHub have everything, all your code base in one place. Now it's like a mono repo. Is principal is just me, and then I'm happy with GitHub, but you can integrate that with any platform. This is what I will happy to this year. For example, you can get involved in this project in the Hackatoberfest to, for example, you don't need to code. You can get involved in localization. We use Transfix. They have the CLIs. You really like the terminal, or you can use the website to do fixed translation or recommend some documentation. We need setting the workflow for this, and in general, how people will like in general. But I will happy to help in this process to the contribution to newcomers, and in that way, I start using new methods like using dev container, because when you say, okay, I'm new to Python, I want make contribution, but it's not just change the line one line. Every commit is mean a lot. And for that, then I start using that container done in the localization way. You do make some change. You right there can see the change in testing. And I will show you that in the demo. Here is I don't want to finish yet. Just here is text. which you can see about some conclusion I make in all this process. For example, in the design part, because they analyze the project, the get the requirement, that's already was already done. It's basic, download media from internet. But when you start digging, like go deep and about the design, I I do the diagram, the UML diagram using Python 2 from the old code base. Why I don't change the version, because I try keep the original idea from the old code base but modernize to Python 3. It's and I keep changing how I want. It will be then now to be the version 2, and the API will be different because Python now have the base to do big change and will be help in maintain the project. Your case is we implement in Python, use GitHub for the collaboration. We use a lot of tools, not just PyTest. We use Flake, MyPy, ISOR, Black for Matter. Sorcery is the one extension I use like before this idea of Copilot. There's some tool like let you do better recommendation and integrate with the CI/CD process to to make your code better. And I use pre-commit to check before commit your change to GitHub or Azure pipeline. In the deployment way, you can see in this project when I create my artifacts, then you have other cycle like become why I focus in the automatization, because is drain time. It's not just you need making sure work in Python and public to Python packages or PyPy. You and then I take care the same code base working all distribution. For example, in a Unix system like Ubuntu, OpenSUSE, in this case like a RPM distro, and Windows. In the case of Windows, making sure pass all the policies because before the tools up to date, then some Windows binary can get tagged like the virus, and you get a lot of question about what is about is a byte or no, and right there before the people install your software, they get scared and don't use your software. And up right now, because not just me, other people push you to become maintainer because they like your software, they use it, start making feedback, and sometimes how to fix the issue. And right there you get the position without ask, become maintainer, the project. Then you will love and enjoy. Um, I can do the little demo before the question. I can change to 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 GitHub code space every time, from GitHub Universe last year when I start here about code space. Get exciting because it's other way you can see the the software what is moving to the cloud. And this time we used dev container to deploy the development process to the cloud. Here already I'm in code space, and I can update the project from there, and not just because mostly this workflow you can be happy in the web development, but in desktop application is not easy to see in the web too. But thankful to the work of the people from Microsoft and Visual Studio Code, and start seeing a script like here, the library script, to how they use Visual Studio Code themselves to check in the web. and then I deploy that service. You can see here the server I use. I public now. I trust you guys. It's in the cloud either, but you can connect to the cloud and see the application online. Okay, for example, I have here first check the software, like the UI interface. It's in Python. We use Py, this is some feature I add to the dev container, like I download the Py, like the Python launcher for Unix. In this case, right there you can test your software. For example, the version I show you in the slides is the 1.8.5 per here, because I am working in the repo with live codes, like active code. You can see, for example, I working in this version 1.6, 1.86. And when I get the confidence like status, it was tested, all the process of the artifacts is well tested. I wanna assigning the code is important. Right there, at least, for example, if you wanna make contribution in the translation, then following the workflow, you can see for example, how many changes. You can see the language and testing the user interface. My goal in the end is moving to the organization, but I'm making slowly when I find more contribution. We can test in the cloud. We can test, not just visual test. No, we see is the software work. I need copy the URL because the copy paste in the browser from there is a little bit tricky. And I just want to show you in the end the basic version with in the end I use the user interface is so simple in the front. We use some backend like a UTLP. Like it happened the same. It's the active forks is better than the actual default CLI to download videos to different platforms. And when you just paste the URL here, I have issues to fix this, but it's up to the requirement of the software. But I leave it in the file for just testing purpose. Here, for example, in the folder, and you just click and download, start the process, and you will have here. The thing is, this is not working in the web browser because we have, but as we go again to that folder, first video, it's a demo. And suppose here will be download the videos. I need to check this as problem and permission something. Let me see here, because then we're working here on the container, no? But here's you can check the log, like you actually see is what is behind the scenes. But I think you see the log is not really writing. It's about permission or writing like root. But at least what I was focused not on use the software like the actual functionality is mostly about testing the user interface. because I already do the integration. For example, testing right now up to date, I can use uh, my own machine, or but I use an Windows container with all the requirement with more write permission and testing and different platform. For example, what happened with Macintosh? When the Mac ecosystem, I testing in the virtual machines, but I need to get involved more about the process of how to publish software in Macintosh. But right now, uh, I working on that and find the resource to do more development on Macintosh and Mac ecosystem. That's it. There's a lot of questions. I hopefully it's don't get boring about the presentation. But this is at least like in short time I wanna show you what I learned in all this way down. That's it. Any questions?